Great. Can you hear me? I think you can now hear me. Something changed there. Hello from Italy as well. So I'll get right to it. This morning we're talking about foreign aid versus foreign trade, the impact and sustainability, comparing the two. And the video you just watched, if you are just joining us, we actually show the video of Westro Coffee, in terms of the impact they're having in Rwanda and East Africa, when it comes to coffee, sustainability, and all of that. So that's an example of what can happen when investors lean in the direction of foreign trade. Okay, Vicky, I see you from Highland. Thank you. You can hear me loud and clear. Great. That's amazing. So yes, how has your week been? I feel like I need to ask before, because the last 1 week went really slow. So much going on around the world. I think from a mental standpoint, you all have to kind of have mental resilience to be able to push through and push past all of the craziness, I'll call it craziness, that is happening around the world. I tell you, one of the ways I manage is I pull back. I do a lot of self-care. Those who follow me on Instagram know what I'm talking about in terms of self-care, just to get my mind together. Like, we really have to still function properly, even with everything else happening out there. So how has your week been? How are you coping wherever you are in the world? This is not just isolated to one region. But anyway, we are moving forward. We're planning for the third edition of the Trade with Africa Business Summit. It's going to be a virtual experience. I'm super excited because we're not going to do what we used to do in person. We're actually recreating the experience from a virtual standpoint. So that's fun to put that together. So yes, nice topic. Thank you, Taiwo. I hear you. Miss Victoria from Lagos. Thank you. John. Yes, Lagos people. Yeah, talk to each other. So yes, everybody knows I hope everybody realizes when you talk about foreign aid. Africa has always been talked about within the context of foreign aid. And some people, experts, would say, oh, with all the foreign aid that, Nigeria or African countries have been receiving, why is the continent still, where it is today? Why is Ghana, or, why are they the way it is? Well, today I'm going to break it down so that you realize that foreign aid was never, ever designed to build the economy of any nation. Never. So if you're in politics today and you're listening to me, please grab your pen. Grab your pen, grab your notebook, and let me break this thing down to you. Because all of a sudden you see a lot of the political people and the ministries of trade and all of them, and ministries of agriculture, they are sitting down waiting for foreign aid to do what? So that's something I want to focus on, so that when we break down why foreign aid is not a solution for any part of the world, even not for Africa. It never was for China, never was for India. So definitely not for Africa. It has its place, and we need to make sure we put it in its place, and we don't think it's the save all, be all, let's rescue Africa with foreign aid. That's not happening. So, and then we're going to break down the power and importance of foreign trade. Okay? So that's what I'm doing today. Yes, Tama, I see. Yes, you're attending. Tama's already registered. She's looking forward to it. We've been announcing a lot of our speakers. I'm telling you, I'm not into event, or, that's not my thing. But what this is a strategic play to key into key stakeholders and to make sure that you are in tune with what's going on around the world. So let me go straight to it. Foreign aid, usually it's a given nation, usually a more affluent nation, that looks to what they call third world countries or emerging economies or developing nations. They have so many names for those nations, right? The small, poor, they even say poor nations. Okay. Let's say the affluent nation, e.g., United States of America, picks a nation like Nigeria. Nigeria, that is the fifth producer, that used to be the fifth supplier of oil to US. They mark Nigeria and say, okay, Nigeria is a developing nation. We want to give you foreign aid. Okay, good. Fantastic. We're going to give you $1 billion in a year. Fantastic. Great. Nigeria is like, yay, America gives us $1 billion. Fantastic. But what you may not realize is that written into the law, because this is American taxpayers' money, okay? Written into the law of foreign aid, whether it's UK aid or USAID, US aid, it's similar. The projects and the contracts that emerge from those foreign trade, upward of at least 80% to, I don't know, I just want to be conservative. Let's say it's between 80 and 90% of those contracts must be fulfilled by companies originating in America. Okay, let me repeat that. Tied to foreign aid, whether US aid, UK aid, or whatever foreign aid is being given, $1 billion, whatever billion, to any nation, fantastic. It's a great, it's humanitarian, no doubt about that. But what the receiving party may not really understand, this is why we really need to start waking up to this thing, to realize that foreign aid is not a solution. It's a support tool, but it's not going to grow any economy, because tied to it is the American, for example, myself, an American company has to be tied to go and fulfill and execute that contract in country. So most of that money circulates here, and then what comes into the recipient's host country is what it needs to execute those contracts. So we might hire people on ground, we might contract things down on ground, yes, but the bulk of it is to us, the American private sector. Remember that. And what is really, really, really the gift is the project that is executed, not the money. Okay? So you need to start thinking $1 billion of foreign aid could translate to what? When we, private sector, we've calculated our labor, our overhead, all of those things, transportation, when we calculate all of those logistics, operational costs to come and execute a project in your country, what is left? Or what do we even bring in is what we need to execute those contracts in country. So all of a sudden, you now start realizing that for the next 100 years, if all the countries around the world start donating foreign aid, giving Africa foreign aid, you will start realizing, why is this money not trickling? You'll be seeing the big figures, 1 billion, 5 billion, 10 billion. Why is 10 billion not, is it that bad? Why is Nigeria not, why is it not transforming? We received 10 billion last year. Let's not kid ourselves. There are a number of things tied to it. It's never designed to build an economy. Okay? That's one. The second thing that I have seen is that a lot of the executors of those contracts, they bypass a critical group of people on the continent that can actually help make their initiative sustainable. Let me explain. In Africa, you have the political elites, you have the upper class, you have the upper middle class, you have the lower class, you have the lower, right? A lot of times, those that want to execute the contract, they will skip everybody. They might deal with the political elite a little bit, but they will skip the highly educated, sophisticated Africans that are in country, on the continent. They will skip them, okay? They will go into the rural parts and start executing projects. And guess what happens to those projects? The day they leave that rural part, there's no sustainability. They carry all their knowledge, they carry it away. What would really help is when they start realizing that, come on, there are smart, super educated Africans sitting in Africa that they should be partnering with, that are committed to Africa, that are fully, they've studied in Harvard, they've studied in Stanford, London School of Business. Please give me MIT. They've studied at the best universities in the world. They are sitting in Africa. They are committed. They are not going anywhere. They've returned back home. Those are the critical elites and the diaspora that this contract, these executors of this contract should be partnering and engaging with, so that even when the contract ends and they move back to their nation, and they leave, those elites, the upper middle class, the highly educated, highly sophisticated people can take that project forward because they've been exposed to what's possible with agriculture, with infrastructure development, with manufacturing. They've all of a sudden, they've been exposed. They were included. One thing about, I might give Nigeria as an example a lot because I know, I can give Ghana as well. But one of the things that really, really allowed Nigeria, in the 80s, 70s, 80s to be the giant of Africa is because a lot of the on-ground initiatives were executed by Africans, right? Meaning, if you're building a bridge, if you're doing any construction, if you're doing any mega project, most of the labor that were used on those projects were in-country individuals, which meant that when those projects finished, those individuals would then birth their own businesses, they will birth their own initiatives, they will keep that momentum going because, knowledge is power. So what I see a lot of time with foreign aid projects that are executed is they will go into the most remote places, which is fine, but they will not take along the Harvard graduates, the MIT graduate, the person that understands global perspective that can actually translate these things. So you now ask, why are all these initiatives not sustainable? And I have examples, but I will not even share it. I've seen initiatives that spent, it was funded for 5 years. They were going to train these people. They trained that people. They did all this work for 5 years. After 5 years, the website has disappeared. Where is the knowledge you guys put together in 5 years? Gone. I'm telling you, this is real thing. I cannot make these things up. I'm only sharing things that personally I have engaged in that I can defend and I can give you names. So I'm not going to share what other people said or this. No, this is personal experience of initiatives that were fully funded for 5 years. At the end of 5 years, because the project was not extended, everything, including the website and the knowledge and the contacts, after 5 years, it's as if it never happened. And I'm asking, for how long would you do this? Well, for how long can Africa keep allowing this? People come in, they take all those funds, they do this thing, and it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable because the educated elites, they are not partnered with, they are not groomed to take on the baton and take it to the next level. So that's another reason right there. So I want to quickly run through my side before I start looking at questions. So I see, please drop your comments, drop your questions. Once I finish my thought process, then I'll be able to look at those and respond. So another reason that things I've seen with foreign aid is that the diaspora in the given nation, they are not fully engaged in those initiatives. So what I mean by that, let me not just say US right now. Let me say UK. You have a lot of African diaspora that are British citizens sitting right there. That when you want to go and do a project in Africa, you don't call on them. You don't tap into their knowledge, into their network. Remember, they are more connected than any foreigner. They are tied to the nation. They are tied back to the continent. So you will now find out that the first months, 6, 7, 8 months, or even a year of this said project, they are using it to gather data and gather network. I know those people, they reach out to me. Oh, Toyin, can you connect us to this? Toyin, I'm like, why not include us? Don't use me for Wikipedia, okay? Why not bring those diaspora in the given? Why don't you put them as project managers, as partners on those initiatives? But you just fly into Africa and say, oh, we're here. We want to do a project. And you look at the project team. Are there no Africans in your country? This is not funny, guys. I'm telling you. You'd be like, why only Brit? Like, are there no intelligent, smart African diaspora in your country that you could put on this project that they know? Why are we doing this? So I have seen that is not sustainable. Now, one thing I will also say that is probably our own fault is that a lot of the African diaspora, they are extremely successful, but they are successful independently, meaning as individuals. best doctors, best cardiovascular, best this, best that. Oh, professor, vice president. A lot of African vice presidents in diaspora community, they are highly, 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 successful. But guess what? As an individual, not as a group. So you now realize that the African diaspora commands, as a group, commands not, as a group, they don't command any economic weight. They don't carry any economic weight in their host nation. Why? Because they are not forming associations, because they are not pulling political play, because they are not lobbying the government. They're just individuals doing great things individually. But in their community, I'm here in Chicago, in the Chicago community. When I moved there 2 years ago, I was like, oh, where is the African community? They are nowhere to be found. I'm like, where? There must be. Because where I was coming from, that was something I was already pulling together. I was pulling together, the African, we had a database, a list that I was also sending newsletters and news things to. Hey, this is what's happening. So I was already pulling that together. So when I came to Chicago, I'm like, where is the African ecosystem? Now let me tell you something that is funny, but it's not funny. There was a particular marketing person that is an African, and I said, how do you find Africans in Chicago? Like when I'm bringing this type of important engagement, important event, and we are bringing ambassadors to the community, shouldn't it be the diaspora that will show up first? Where are they? This person said, when we wanted to do a political campaign for this person, we had to start going around churches. That's how we could find it. I say, okay. I respect. I am a Christian. Trust me. I believe in that. But if the only place where you can be found when they are talking about business opportunities and investment and trade opportunity is a church, then there's a problem, guys. There is a problem, because when it comes to business opportunities and business organization, you should be in organizations, you should be in associations, you should be pulling, you should be networking. Business people network. Right? So if you're a diaspora and you're not part of a mobilized ecosystem of business people, you are missing out. You don't even know what's going on. That's what I would tell you. You don't know what's going on in your community. You don't understand what's going on politically. You are not even part of that ecosystem. So that's what I have seen, is that until resident diaspora start pulling their own weight locally, not just nationally, but start organically. Start doing things in your community. And this is something that even several years ago, there was a vice president, I would not name of what company, but I was engaging them in terms of, Africa, trade, this. This vice president, who is an American, said, Toyin, I'm hearing you, but we don't see you people in the community. We see the Indians, they pull us together. We see this group. We see, are there other Africans like you? I'm telling you, you need to start pulling yourself together so that in your community, people can start seeing you, that you carry economic weight, that you have impact locally, and then take it to national. And then eventually you should be able to lobby your host government to say, hey, we want a piece of that cake. We want some, But anyway, that's also why I see that in the world of foreign aid, you find out that the African diaspora, so foreign trade to Africa is even missing Africans and African diaspora. It's an ecosystem it's an interesting ecosystem that people need to look into. So for me, it has its place. If you're political elite and you're listening and people are offering you foreign aid, receive it. It's free. But remember, what is free are the projects. If I were you, I'll probably be directing those funds to research and development so that the data that comes out of that can outlive that project. But if they go here, train these people, train that people, when that the fund is finished, you just realize that there's no knowledge transfer. It's not sustainable. It's gone. It's gone. So every single year, projects come, projects go, projects come, these great things happen. And then you'll be like, why is foreign aid not making any impact? Those are a few reasons. I'm telling you, there's a whole list of things I could share with you, but I'll keep that. One one of the things that we are now going to start doing is on our trade community, we'll be having closed discussion. I know this is quite public, but we are now developing like groups, mini groups for agriculture, mini groups for manufacturing, mini groups. So it's going to be like a knowledge base of conversations of expertise and people that want to be a part of that. I invite you to join our trade community. That's really where we're going to roll up our sleeves and start saying, hey guys, let's figure this thing out together. So it's www.nazaru.trade. But if you go to our main website, www.nazaru.com, it will link you down to our trade community as well. It's a paid group. There are several content, several services that we now offer where we're saying, hey, if you want to stay plugged in, there are a lot of content I share there that I do not share publicly as well. So it's an exclusive paid group and it has tiers as well. So yes, so that's foreign aid. Again, there's so many things I could talk about, but now let me quickly shift to foreign trade, the impact and sustainability of foreign trade. I just shared now, I see there's a lot of questions. Let me hold on a bit. Wow. Okay, I want to just acknowledge that I see your questions. Let me just wrap up the second half of my discussion, and then I'll go down that list. But yes, I see Sibu Siso from South Africa. I see Achempong from Netherlands. Thank you. I see Asma from DC. Hey, thank you for joining. Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining. So I acknowledge that those joining us. But okay, so now let me shift to foreign trade, the power and the impact of foreign trade. One of the amazing things around the world, wherever you are, is if you can build a business, no matter how small, and there's value in your business, it's tied to pride. And people can pay you for the value you're creating. So as like the video I showed about Westrock Coffee, basically that woman, no matter where she is in the world, right? If somebody is saying, I want to do you charity, then she's going to be like hands down, okay, feed me, feed me, feed me. It's like, are you giving people a fish or you are teaching them how to fish? That's the difference between foreign aid and foreign trade. Foreign aid is, oh, sit down, you don't know how to do anything. We will do it for you. Guess what? Somebody else is funding you. We will feed you. The day that fund dries, guess what dries as well? That fish is gone. Okay? But if you teach somebody how to fish, so foreign trade, if you teach somebody a skill, a craft, you value what they are producing, whether it's handcrafted bags or paintings or carvings, whatever it is, if you see the value and you buy the value, there is pride in that, because all of a sudden you are connecting them to the market, to the global market. That is trade. Trade is buying and selling. If you buy from Africa and sell to Africa, that is trade. The engagement changes, the dynamic changes, the conversation changes. This is not charity. This is value for value, meaning you believe that Africans can contribute, whether it's goods, unique goods, coffee, cashew, cocoa. And that's the difference, guys. That's the difference, is that there is pride tied to it. There's sustainability, because as long as that market exists, the global market, as long as there are end consumers, you can connect. And that's one thing we talk about in terms of market access. I've also shared, there's content on our community where we talk about market access, tariff and non-tariff barriers. So let's put it this way. Let's say in the middle, there are barriers to trade, no doubt. But on one hand is Africa and Africa's exporters and Africa's producers and Africa's manufacturers, right? The challenge is blasting through this bubble of noise and then connecting them to the global market. And in this middle is barriers to trade, lack of trade information, lack of just data, being able to find who is doing what. Like if you want to manufacture things in Africa, good luck finding where they are, who's doing what, factory certification, all of those data middle, those are the things that we should be solving for. And that's what we are working on every single day, because on the other side of those barriers are real people in the farm, because a lot of the Africa has 60% of the remaining arable land in the world. The farmland of the future sits in Africa. It's being able to get the right equipment there. It's being able to fund those activities, being able to train and making it in a sustainable way. And that's what West Rock Coffee has done. And that's why they are one of the lifetime sponsors for our engagements as well. Several years ago, when I sat, over coffee, having coffee, I wasn't drinking coffee. He was, but we were in a coffee shop and we were talking about what I wanted to do. And I described what I wanted to do, and he was like, okay, sounds good. And I was like, and I want you to be my keynote. This is CEO of West Rock Coffee. And they were like, no, Tony, I can get you somebody else. I was like, no, Scott, no, it's you. What you're doing with West Rock Coffee is what I'm saying is what we all should be leaning towards, not this charity thing that everybody throws around. Trust me, charity has its place, no doubt. Even right here in Chicago, even right here in the US, the world of charity has their place and fantastic. But the world I come from, I'm saying, don't mistake foreign aid for economic development. Don't mix that, and that's what I'm seeing, is that people have mixed it up. They've muddled it up, and they now assume that foreign aid to Africa equal to economic development for Africa. No, let's not kid ourselves. It doesn't happen that way. What's transformed China and what's transforming India is not foreign aid. China wasn't sitting down and saying, oh, I'm waiting for foreign aid from America. Oh, I'm waiting for foreign aid from UK. If that's what they did, they will not be where they are right now. What they decided to do was to lean in 100% in the direction of foreign trade and say, hey, we can produce that for you. Oh, we would make it for you. Oh, don't worry. We have labor, we have land, our government will finance. You don't even have to finance this. We will do all the work. And guess what? They've done that for China. Now they're coming to Africa as well and say, oh, Africa, we will do that for you. So anyway, that's it in a nutshell. I know there's a lot more I could deep dive into, but I want to keep today's conversation short. There's more conversation that we're going to have and we're having in our closed private community, trade community, where we are solving. People are asking questions. People are supporting each other. I'm telling you, every day when Tama, you need to tell them, when I hear Tama pings me, Toyin, I'm always hearing Tama's ping in terms of posting questions and people responding and Tama telling me, hey, this person just gave me this answer. What do you think? I'll be like, oh my goodness. I just love how my community, they're supporting each other, how somebody's asking the question, somebody's saying, hey, this is the way I solved it. Because the world of global trade, you cannot go alone. So even while I'm telling people to lean into trade with Africa, I also want to acknowledge, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm actually the last person that will say it's easy. It's actually a journey of a lifetime. You need to get into a group. You need to get into a group of like-minded people. You're going to have a ton of questions. What has taken me years to acquire, right? You need to be tapping into that knowledge. You're going to need a serious network to blast through barriers. Remember that bubble in the middle. You're going to need a lot of information. And that's why I know I've shared before, we're gearing up for our trade facilitation masterclass. We already have a ton of people signed up to that. And one thing I'm doing is to, we're going to schedule it out. We're going to actually break it into multiple classes because of the number of people that have signed up. So it's going to run for the entire year. So that's why I'm not in a hurry. I know a lot of people have signed up for that. But it's going to be, I see it as a game changer because a lot of people are wondering, okay, Toyin, we've heard everything you've said. Oh, we are now awake. Excuse me. Yeah, sorry about that. We're now awake to the opportunities. You've stimulated our minds. We're ready. What should we do? I'm like, okay. So I'm now taking responsibility to also kind of show people that, okay, if you're ready to engage, these are the opportunities. These are the challenges. This is how you have to grow yourself and become a trade facilitator. You can become an investor. You can become a trade facilitator, but you've got to step up and up your game and upskill as well to be able to play on the global market. So that's it. I know I rushed through. I was speaking really fast. Apologies for that. So now I can get to your questions, your comments. I'm going to scroll down those comments now. So please keep it short, keep it direct. That way I can read it out to those that are also listening. Sean, I see you said foreign aid is a scam. No, it's not a scam. So one of the things that I would say is we have to know the way the world works. We have to educate ourselves. It's not a scam. It's not a scam at all. No, it works. But the point I'm raising here, so to be clear, foreign aid, what I'm saying is that Africans government, Africans diaspora, African business community must see it for what it is. They must not look to it as an economic transformative engine, right? So it works. So if you understand the way the world works and somebody is knocking on your door, trust me, anybody that knocks on your door in Africa, know they want something from you. The mindset of, oh, they're coming to help me. Oh, they're coming to rescue me. That's the mindset I'm saying we're going after. Stop it. That's something we need to, I know it stems from colonial masters and the history of Africa and all of those things. Those are barriers to trade. As long as you think somebody is going to knock on your door and teach you how to fish and transform your future for life, as long as you're thinking that way, you're not going to go out there and fish for yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. Understand the value that foreign aid brings, put it in its place, leverage its opportunity, but don't consider it as an economic driver for your nation. That's all I'm saying. It works. It works. I've seen initiatives and there are so many other things that I am not going to share publicly. It works, but it works in a particular dimension, right? But everybody has just turned it into, don't mistake foreign aid for foreign trade. I think that's the summary. So it does work, but we just need to understand how it works. I see Asma from DC said, absolutely, foreign aid is not a sustainable solution for Africa. Thank you. It's not sustainable for Africa. It's not sustainable for China. It's not sustainable for India. It's not sustainable for anybody. So it's a mindset shift that Africans must realize. And now it's the time for people to start educating themselves, break that mental shift and say, hey, I need to go out there and start doing things for myself. What does China know that I don't know? What did India know what did they do that we didn't do? Because you can see their growth. In 1980, China was where? Today, 40 years, what did they do? That's what I'm trying to say. If you're trying to become the global player that I know a lot of African nations are trying to push for with the Continental Free Trade Agreement, we need to start level setting and understanding this type of things. Okay. I see Bob say Confessions of an Economic Hit. Okay, yeah. I've seen that book. Was it video? Yeah, I've seen those videos as well. Yes, absolutely. People should check it out. Hello from India. Simple. Thank you. I'm trying to keep it simple. I think that's one of the things I try to do is there are complex terms when you say trade, investment, but as long as we make it complex, then it seems unattainable for the regular people on the street. What I try to do is bring it home to a concept that you can connect with, that you can relate with. And that's why the video I played, of Westro Coffee, they've done it beautifully to see how coffee, there's traceability. You can actually trace it back to the rural farm, because a lot of the farms on the continent, they are not big businesses, they are family farms. Excuse me. So that woman showed in that video, if you didn't watch it at the very beginning, she probably could produce maybe only a bucket or 2 buckets, right, of coffee a day or what, right? So, but when you think about the global market that requires scale, somebody in the middle has to aggregate the supply. And that's the opportunity for investors have on the continent, is to say, you look at cashew, the cashew supply chain, you realize that a lot of the people, the individuals that own those farms, they are family smallholder farmers. So it means that smallholder farmer cannot break into the global market. It has to be aggregated, right? So Western Coffee aggregates from over 30,000, I believe, smallholder farmers across Africa, across East Africa. So those are some of the things you now need to start saying, oh, wow, okay, if I want to play in cashew, if I want to play in cocoa, guess what? Yes, you can start buying little by little, but the global market deals at scale. So the middle players need to come in, invest, in order to aggregate and brand and all of those things. So that's the gap that I see on the continent, is that access to market from the smallholder farmer, you have to build a strategy to close that gap. Okay. Tama says, I love working with my farm manager. Yes, yes, yes. I know that Tama is one of those people really actively every day. She's like asking questions. She has projects going on, and we support her as well. We try to provide her guidance as well. She's taking our AGOA export training. If you don't know, we actually have a lot of training that we've packaged as well. Because again, I don't just want to be talking, right? I'm looking to people that are serious minded, that want to get in, that want to engage, and we will do everything we can do to support you, to put in your community, to help you build a sustainable business as well. So Asma said, if US business wouldn't benefit from the contracts, then it would be hard to get. And exactly, yes. So again, absolutely. But remember, people like myself too, we're US businesses, right? But in the world of diversity, there's a lot of conversation around diversity and inclusion, but a lot of people don't see the world of foreign aid as missing diversity as well. To say, if you're going to do any projects in Africa today, right, where are people that are people of African descent that are actually taxpayers, right? That actually, we can actually help you fast track your project, because what it would take you, the first 1 year is like research. We're researching, stakeholder assessment, communication. This, I can easily, I can easily, with the network we've built, boom, boom, boom. All it's going to take, email here, email there, conversation. We've built a strong, solid network. That what it would take somebody 6 months to figure out. I'll just be laughing. So those are some things we also need to start thinking in executing those contracts. I have a first degree in mathematics. Yes, when you look at an equation, you can solve an equation with 5 different ways. But for me, what's the easiest way to solve the equation and to even save taxpayer money? One of the easiest ways is engage African diaspora in those projects. That's it. They know more. They can, if they show up on the continent in the village, they know what to say to the village chief. They know what to say to the organizing body, because they look like them and they speak their language. Anyway, I would stop talking about that. You get the point. Okay. Okay, I'm going down. Sebastian said, okay, please keep your comments short and sweet. I see that's just a comment, not a question. This is a good resource for Africans in diaspora. Absolutely. We work with different stakeholders. We work with companies that want to expand to the continent, individuals that want to export to the continent. We work with individuals or companies, work with even political individuals that are trying to attract investment. We work with export promotion agencies that want to position their nation, because think about it, the 55 countries now, they are competing against each other. You see China, you see Kenya with their move trying to sign bilateral trade with the US, and then they turn around, they want to sign bilateral trade, another trade agreement with UK. You just see that everyone for themselves. South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, everybody's pushing really hard. It's extremely competitive on the continent right now. So even for nations on the continent, if you want, as the world is waking up to trade with Africa, as we are working with them and saying trade with Africa, and they're asking us, a common question they ask me is, which country? Where should we go? Where should we where should we direct our attention? So when we look across the continent, which ones are we going to recommend? So the ones that do the right thing and create enabling environment. When you think about the World Bank doing business index, the ones that actually do what they need to do, those are the ones we would recommend, right? Those are the ones that we can play with. Because like I tell people, if you go to a market, like a local, like a regular African market, with your money, and you are the buyer and you're the one ready to spend your money, and you get to the market and the first person you see doesn't treat you well, what are you going to do? You move on to the next seller, and the next seller did not arrange their things very well. You'll be like, okay, you are not serious right now. You move on to the next person until you find the player, the seller in the market that will treat you well and that values your money and values your investment. It's the same thing on the global market. So Nigeria, for example, I see them do this thing where Nigeria used to be the fifth largest supplier of oil to America. Wealthy, right? But one of the things they need to work on is that when you're dealing with oil, resources like oil, you behave like kings, right? You're like, you want our oil, do this, do that. You are commanding the buyers to do everything they can do before they get your oil. So in that transaction, you have the upper hand, because oil is not something they can get anywhere else, right? So what it means is you can pretty much treat your buyer anyhow, right? Because it's not like that oil they can go to Cotonou and get it. They're still interested, and they've done a lot. They've surveyed, the oil is there. So in that mindset, in the oil supply chain, Nigerians, the business people in that world, and the political elite in that world, they have this a particular frame of mind that is extremely I don't even know. It's not the right attitude. Because when they take that attitude and they try to play that game when it comes to coffee cashew, you just see the buyers ignoring you. They're like, coffee? We can get it from East Africa. Okay, cashew, I'm not dealing. You want me to use my money to organize your market? No, I'll go to an existing market that is organized. So Nigerians will be like, why are these buyers not coming? They are not coming because they have options. The expectations you had, the way you used to deal with oil, that the buyers will be tripping on themselves, trying to get your oil or trying to get your minerals and everything. And you'll be like, turn right, they turn right, turn left. And you're like, ha, 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 we are commanding them. The world needs us. We are the giant of Africa. That would only work in oil. And now the oil has crashed. The economy has crashed. So if you need buyers in other commodity, you need to start doing what the rest of the world is doing. You need to sit up tight. You need to organize your market. You need to treat buyers with utmost respect, because if you want their money, you're going to work for it. It's not oil where you just sit down, you say you want to drill. Oh yeah, we give you permission to drill. If you drill, this is our cut, that is our cut. And they say, yes, yes, yes. And then they drill and give you your cut. And then people start taking that money. No, the real world of trade, non-oil trade, works differently. Before you get $1 from any buyer, you will walk, you will walk. So that's another mindset shift that has to happen, especially for nations that have been dealing for years, for centuries, in natural resources, diamonds and gold and this. Those world, you sit back as chiefs, and then the others that you've given them rights to your community, then they drill and do all the work for you, and they pay you, and you're like, ha ha ha, cool money. You're blowing yourself with the cool cash, like you're feeling good. That world there is over. The real world of non-oil, if you have a factory and you want to get a PO to produce 2021 garments, hey, do you know what it takes to run a factory to produce 1 million pieces? Before you work with your supplier, the buttons, the zip, before you fulfill that PO agreement, do you know the heavy lifting and the sweat that it takes to do it? Nobody should say anything about China. Those people can work. I respect them. And that's what I'm trying to say is in that new world that we're saying global trade, we see the opportunities, opportunities exist. That world is different. You have the operation manual in that world is totally different. It's a game changer. And what we are saying is if you want to move from foreign aid to foreign aid trade as a nation, it's time because you have the youth workforce, you have the people, you have the land, it's time to mobilize ourselves to tap into that world. So again, I can talk about it, but I'm trying to, I'll keep moving down to see more questions. Oh yeah, I see a lot of comments. I see Sebastian talking about the Nigerian budget, 28 billion for 200 million people, and you normally use 70%. I see that. Okay, Toyin, I see Mini asking, Toyin, please preach. This is the African leaders, particularly the Nigerian government. Okay, trust me, that's why we have a private community. Those who want to really hear the truth. Sometimes I feel like I'm extremely direct. People go to Washington, our political elites go to DC every time. Oh, and they roll out the red carpet and they shake their hands and they're like, and when the political elites return back to Africa, they're like, oh, they love me in DC. America loves me. Great. But they don't realize it's diplomacy. In the diplomatic space, they want you to come happy and to leave happy. They're not going to tell you direct things, right? They're not going to, it's not their business to tell you what you need to do to develop your nation. No, they have their own. Thank God for COVID-19 now. COVID-19 has showed the rest of the world. Everybody has turned in and they're trying to fix their own nation. So guess what? Your problem is not their problem. It's not. It's not. So it's high time that people think collaboratively and say, wow, strategically, what can we do? What do we have? African nations have what they need, but the gap is organized markets, market intelligence, bringing people together and not waiting for somebody else to do it. That's the key. Stop waiting and stop expecting. And even the political elites, in private conversation, again, that's why we have the community, private community, because we break down these topics pretty quickly. Sometimes people just reach out to me and say this. I'm like, do you want to know the truth? Do you really want me to tell you? If you're ready for the truth, I'll share. I'll share it, because in business, you need to know where the minefields are, because if you don't know what you're stepping into, boom, right? So you need to arm yourself with information, with knowledge, with network, with understanding as well, and then you can move forward with your project. Tama said, we appreciate you. Thank you. I appreciate you guys too. At least you guys are spending your time with me as well. So that's to say, sometimes they say if a tree falls in the forest and nobody heard it, did it really fall? Like if Toyin is talking about trade with Africa and there's no audience, is there really trade with Africa? So thank you all for listening as well. Dr. Priska said Africans must arrange themselves in cooperatives and crowdfunding initiatives to develop their community. Thank you. You said it so clearly. That's it. It's back to what I was saying before, where individually diasporas are the most successful people. Like I'm one of those people, right? I don't have to be public about my work. I don't have to be hosting the Trade with Africa Business Summit. In fact, I joke and say, oh, imagine if it's Trade with China Business Summit, how many planes the Chinese government will send to America? How many, that's a joke, but it's funny, but it's not funny. It's saying when I say Trade with Africa Business Summit, how serious are the African governments taking it? Do they see the opportunity? In fact, when you see things like AGOA that has been on the books for 20 years, what have they done? What have they done about it? So, yes. So for me, in the private sector, it's so important to mobilize yourself into a community. Global trade is not something you do as individual. Even those opportunities, those PO, you cannot execute a mega PO by yourself. You can't even capture it. Nobody's going to give you, because they're looking at your financials. The biggest buyers, before they will even deal, they have a lot of requirements. For those who may not know, I know I don't share a lot about my background, but I was actually responsible for building the supplier management global sourcing platform for Walmart, which is the biggest retailer in the world. So, in terms of the software and the checks and the questions and all of those things that has to be met, factory warranty, all of those things before a global buyer would even bother to look at you. They have to do a lot of due diligence before they would engage. And I'm saying, are you ready? I mean, when a lot of people reach, I'm like, you cannot respond here. Your DUNS number, I mean, there's so many checks and balances that has to be met, and individuals cannot meet it. So it's so important so for example, you think about apparel and all of those things, the demand is there. The challenge is that you've not organized maybe textile manufacturers of Africa, just something like that. If we say textile manufacturers of Africa, where are they? Who are they? Right? How have you mobilized them as well? Those are the things we want to see. Daminola said, who are those capable of engaging in foreign trade as an individual? Can I engage in foreign? Yes, the most first thing is get into a community, start getting information. And for our Trade with Africa Business Summit that is in 2-3 weeks from now, we're going to be doing something different, which is helping you to narrow down the role you're going to play. Because the role, I mean, a lot of times, all you might even need to do be an investor. Some of the people that follow our work, they're not really interested in going to a farm or going to no, they just want to sit down in the comfort of their home and let their money work for them. Great, let's do that, right? So each person needs to figure out what they are comfortable with as well. Okay, Bob's. So I'm going in. There's a lot of comments. Okay, great. Okay, there are books being recommended. We must leverage our Oladimeji said we must leverage our diaspora population, financial influence, and identify non-government focused sectors to begin the impact. Yes. So if what you're about is impact, and when I say impact, I'm not talking about charity. I think I've addressed that. I'm saying opportunities. Like, what can you do to build businesses around this? Like for us at Nazaru, we are building a business in providing services and platforms and network and events and information that supports others, right, in terms of driving trade with Africa. So this is our work. This is our value. This is the value proposition that we have, is to say Africa is the next economic frontier. There's a lot of transactions. As those transactions go up, individuals that are involved need to arm themselves with skills. In order for you to be successful, you need to grow your network, right? You need to understand what's going on. And a lot of the content that we've been putting together, I know someone asked me, okay, apparel manufacturing in Africa. Guess what? We have a video from 2018 where we talked about apparel manufacturing in East Africa, and we have videos that show exactly what is going on, right? We have content around poultry, agriculture. We have so much. We've been building up this content for years. And we are saying, hey, this is what people need to dive into. I know someone yesterday was reaching out to me and saying, oh, I'm trying to change my career into the world of trade and international trade. What would you advise me to do? I said, number one, start research. Start drinking, start before you can decide on directionally what's best that you can contribute. Research is the first thing. And a lot of times the data is not prevalent, and that's why a lot of the content we offer is a great place to start. Immerse yourself in that content. So on that note, I'm wrapping up for today. Within our community, we're going to be having more private conversations. We're going to be we host events. We're going to be having more workshops. We have our trade facilitation workshop as well. I know a lot of people are waiting for me, but the reason I'm holding is because several people have signed up, so we need to break those classes down. and plan it out because of the interest that we've received. And that really is exciting. I'm telling you, from where I sit, it's exciting. It's very exciting to be a part of this movement in terms of trade with Africa. We're part of this, mobilization of stakeholders around trade with Africa. And for me, the reason we did not cancel the Trade with Africa Business Summit is because the conversation cannot wait. Every single day, we are bringing that conversation to those that follow us. And I also want to invite you to subscribe to our newsletter, to stay plugged in. If you have individuals in your network that you think this information is important to them. In fact, to be honest with you, this information should be important to every single person that is connected to me, in terms of whether you're just watching, whether you're just educating yourself. Because where China is today, 20 years ago, people were like, China did not stand for quality, China did not stand for opportunity. But today, they've turned things around, and that's what we see. And don't just listen to me, the data says it all, that by 2050, the population of the continent is going to double, the economy. And the newsletter from last week, we also broke it down as well. So go read that. I don't want to repeat myself here. But anyway, thank you to everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I really do appreciate your time. If you've not yet registered for our Trade with Africa Business Summit, please do that. It's www.twasummit.com. We're bringing knowledge, the most brilliant minds on Africa. We're bringing them together for you to network with. We have a digital platform where you can actually create your business card and connect with people, and you can inbox, have private conversations with people. So if that's something you want to plug into, I invite you to register before we shift to I think there's late registration coming right up. So go ahead and register as well. On that note, thank you again. It's really such an honor to be here. And for those that have not responded to their questions, like I usually do, I'll go in and type and respond and acknowledge those questions as well. So have a wonderful week. It's Tuesday, but we have the rest of the week. Keep doing you and stay safe, and also make sure that you're not letting what's going on out there to completely derail you. I think that's one of the things we have to work on, is keep ourselves fully engaged and moving in the direction we need to go. Okay, take care.